Hi, everybody. Welcome to St. Vincent College. Good morning, as we should say. Not an afternoon practice today for your Pittsburgh Steelers, a morning one. A little bit of a change due to the projected weather this afternoon. Day 6 of practice, or day 7, I should say.
Yeah, day 7. Yeah,
Day
I know,
7,
it's crazy. It's going so fast.
Yes, it absolutely is. This is Training Camp Live, presented by FedEx and Missy Matthews alongside Max Starks. And yesterday, it was hot, it was sweaty, it was humid, it was all the things that Coach Tomlin loves. He was wearing shorts, so that tells me it was extra hot.
First time since 2007 I've seen that man's legs. Just going to be honest with you. And I walked up to him. I said, Coach, I was like, it must be that hot that we're seeing Shin. He said, "You doggone right, Miss Starkey."
Yes,
He was like, it was steamy yesterday. It was hot.
It was.
And yeah, and like you said, you saw something outside of the norm. So
right.
Coach Tomlin was seeking just a smidge of relief, not comfort. Because he never seeks comfort.
Absolutely
not. But it was a little bit of relief yesterday from the heat.
He still had on long sleeves and like part of a sweatshirt. So
yeah.
I'll give him that. That's
way more than I would ever think about wearing.
Yes, absolutely. But finally, Pads Day. It was 24 hours later, but it happened. What's your biggest takeaway from what you saw yesterday, Max?
Well, I was just happy to see really just the physicality, right? We saw the drag down tackling. We saw hitting in the hole. So we got to see real football action yesterday. And I'll say this, the backs on backers period was very live. It was a very live, very spirited segment of practice. But then, other thing that I really like to see, I was really happy to see just how well team run went. There were some wins, there were some losses, give and take. And I would say, begrudgingly, that the defense had a better day than the offense as far as success on a per-play basis. They won the 7 shots. So defense definitely got day 1 in pads underway, which in most situations, that's usually what happens, right?
Sure.
Defense is usually going to hit a little bit faster than the offense because the offense has a little bit more to coordinate and guys to get up to pad level speed. But a fun day and I feel like a very successful day in pads for day 1.
We were just taking a live look as the players are coming down to the field for this morning practice, getting started at 10 o'clock today. Number 93 in gold, Mark Robinson, he was coming down just a few seconds ago. Joey Porter, those two guys, physicality, Coach Tomlin gave them their props. It's an asset to their game and says it needs to show up consistently, and he felt like those two guys brought it yesterday.
Oh, they definitely did. Like Mark Robinson had a moment at the end of team run where he literally stopped both of the last 2 plays by himself. He was in the backfield. He made the tackle on one, and then he led part of the tackle on another one, both tackles for losses. Joey Porter, to start that drill, came right up and made a tackle in the backfield. They were trying to run a stretch concept play to the right, and Joey Porter came up, tackle for loss, all by himself, solo tackle. Had a couple of really big PBUs in the team passing period. So yeah, both of them definitely jumped off the page. I talked to like Rob King when I'm on our radio show and Pursuta when we're up here about kind of what do you do to make a name for yourself here? You have to pop off the tape at least once. Both those guys did it multiple times yesterday, and it was very noticeable about who was making a play. 93 clearly made a play. 24 clearly made plays, and they're going to need them to show up. For Mark Robinson, he's fighting in a very packed inside linebacker room for a space on there, and he's also a very good special teams guy. Joey Porter, like you said, starting corner. I need to see that you can tackle in space. You're not afraid to go and mix it up if the ball swings out to you, and it's not a receiver.
Right.
Tackling non-receiver personnel body types is a very good sign for him.
What have you seen the influence on Joey Porter right there as we see him coming down for practice of Darius Slay, Jaylen Ramsey, these guys that they're working a lot together on the field, but it sounds like off the field as well. They are here and they are willing participants in helping him take another jump in his career.
Well, I mean, just seeing the conversations, right? When he's not in practice, the defensive back crew's kind of huddled on the sidelines together, and they're talking football. They're talking about what they can do. They're cheering each other on when they make plays. Like, they'll run across the field, dap each other up, slap each other on the back of the helmet, and say good play. And then, you'll hear guys, again, let's do it again. Let's continue to make plays. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? When you have guys who not only just work together, but you see those little small huddles off the field. They sit together in the lunchroom and the calf, together, that means you're trying to create synergies. You're trying to understand each other, because the biggest thing which separates success and kind of failure in the league is how well guys work together. And secondary, there has to be a communication when things change on the fly. And sometimes it's nonverbal communication because you can't just yell across to the other corner.
Can't really hear you.
Yeah, you can't really hear the guy. So hand signals, any other type of stuff to give each other kind of a heads up. Or if you're tracking with a guy and you end up on their side with them, being able to communicate, pass things off in zone is really big. And I think it's the same thing I say for offensive linemen. Looking at Troy Fatanu coming down here, like offensive line have to do the same thing. Like you got to hang together afterwards, and the guys are grabbing snack together. The guys are always sitting together at lunchtime. You got to build that kind of trust. You got to build that friendship, and you got to build something above just a working relationship with guys. So seeing all those guys kind of in their little pockets, but still hanging out with everybody. Because that's the other thing here about camp. But they do it very well.
You were talking about Troy Fatanu yesterday. Coach Tomlin was asked about him going against T.J. Watt and holding his own on some of those reps, and how, it's easy for him to get better because he's going against a great player a lot in every single day. What did you see from 76 yesterday?
I thought Troy looked good in pads. That's always the biggest worry, right? Because he's coming off of injury, and you haven't hit since last season. So when you come out here and you get that first day of pads, there's a bit of anxiety, especially when you've had a knee injury. As a guy who's had 4 of them,
right?
I understand that there's going to be hesitation. Like, can I pull the trigger? Can I not pull the trigger? Like, what is involved in the process? And I have to start trusting my knee. Me and my knee have to have a conversation daily. You're good enough. You're smart enough. And gosh darn it, you're healed, And that's what you have to kind of have, because you have to build that day-to-day, I'm okay. Is this pain just a normal pain, or is this a different pain? And you have to kind of quantify. You have to do almost like a full body scan, right? Like in yoga.
Start head, go to the toes.
Yeah, it's like, okay, head, feel fine. I mean, there's some things up there. It's not because of football. Shoulders, how does my elbows feel? How does my hips feel? Knees, because that's a chain. Your ankles, knees, and your hips are a chain. And when one is injured, the other one's usually to follow, lock up, get tight. So you got to constantly work your hips. You got to work your ankles to make sure you give your knee the same receptors to say, hey, it's okay to do this. And, let's face it, you got to go through a situation where you think you might have tweaked something and say, oh, okay, I'm fine. No, this business as usual. But that takes time. That takes situations. And I think for Troy, he took a step in the right direction. He stressed himself. He bent his knee, got in an awkward position. He felt okay, and you can see him building confidence in that. And he's going to need those moments up until we get to the first game of the season to just test that knee and really know what he can do and what he can't do.
Max, another standout player yesterday in pads would be Payton Wilson, number 41. We know Coach Tomlin really wanted him versus Kenny Gainwell. They got that and much more, and I had a chance to catch up with Payton after practice yesterday. All right, it's time now for our camp combo presented by the UPMC Health Plan. I'm Missy Matthews with Payton Wilson. First day in pads, but you had to wait a day. How did it feel to finally get back out there?
It was exciting. Just to, go good on good and, fly around, make some plays. This is why you play the game. The past 5 days have been fun. Like Coach calls it, the acclimation days, and they're real football-like. So when you get out here and you put pads on and we're in 7 shots and team periods and you're actually tackling, you get a sense of what football truly is.
In terms of Coach Tomlin, he said heading into the first padded day, he wanted to see you and Kenny Gainwell go at it. Take me through what that was like in all of your reps.
Yeah, KG's, excuse my language, is a hell of a competitor. Backs on backers, we go at it. If we're running routes, we go at it. Like KG said to me, we're going to work every single day and eventually we'll become world champions. Just the respect I have for KG, the way that he gets back up and the way that he works every single rep, we're going to make each other really good.
Is there anybody that stood out to you in any of the competition periods today?
Yeah, Mark Robinson. He's been around for a little bit longer than I have, but he's a heck of a player, plays his role, and when it's time to shine, he definitely shines.
What was Coach's message to you guys after the first day in pads? It's hot. It was a long practice.
Just, we have some things to correct, but at the end of the day, get that first day under the belt and you continue to move forward. Reach around, shake a man's hand, thank them for competing against you, and just, try to get better each and every day.
All right, Payton, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and the fact that Payton was telling me it wasn't as hot and humid as he thought it would be. I kind of looked at him like he was crazy, but he honestly was not gassed. He seemed to be okay after that first padded practice. What did you take away from him, Max?
Oh, I was watching Backs on Backers, and yes, it was very heated, very spirited, I guess, as you would say.
Little talk.
Yeah, little bit of orneriness. I would sense
that's
from that group.
That's a good way.
And you heard a lot of again. Run it back, type of repartee. More so the backs asking for the backers. The backers, I felt like, had a better day. Now, granted, how realistic is it? Backs on backers, not very realistic. Like
not necessarily fair.
A guy standing on the line of scrimmage, like a linebacker standing on the line of scrimmage, and not having to clear any trash, not having to work through any other primary level blocking, and then trying to get around it. Not realistic, but the linebackers did win that drill. It's skewed towards them. I mean, the more realistic one is when we get them into the open field and they start doing some of the pass coverage stuff and having to stick with guys. Then you'll get a little bit more offensive-minded. But I felt like Jaylen Warren had a really good day out there. Payton Wilson had an excellent day. He had a couple of swim moves on Kenny Gainwell and was standing in the box and talking to him. Then they had some stuff where they went to the ground. I mean, it was very spirited. Caleb Johnson got a lot of reps.
Yes, he did.
He grew up very quickly in that and, realized how big and strong these guys are that are coming at them.
Mm-hmm.
But, no, it was a great drill. Payton Wilson had a good day. Malik Harrison showed up really big in there, as well as Mark Robinson. I mean, Robinson, you give him one direction to go. He is a boomstick. So, when you talk about a guy that's a thumper in that room, I would say 93 stands out as a thumper.
Mm-hmm.
But, as far as the coverage, the quickness, and everything else, they want to see if the inside backers are going to be capable of blitzing and hitting home on quarterbacks. So that was a great drill to kind of warm them up for it and get the action going. But, no, I really like what Payton Wilson had to offer yesterday in that drill, and then, of course, in team drills as well. He was flying all over. Made a couple of great blocks, or great tackles on some wide stretch plays where you kind of get outside and forcing the receivers to block. I felt like he did a really good job of weaving through and finding the back. So it was a good day for 4-1.
Yeah, and I think you even go back to that Ravens game at Acrisure Stadium last year, what he was able to do as a rookie. I just think the knowledge that he takes in and how he's able to translate that to the field so quickly. You hear Patrick Queen, all of the guys in his room saying, we really expect big things in year 2 from him. He's even talked about wanting to be the best in the world. And I think, as you said, it was one day in pads. Drill is skewed more towards his position group, but he's bringing the heat and, sticking to what he said.
Well, and he showed up when he was supposed to, right? I mean, that's the other thing, because Mike Tomlin, one thing was he always preach, right? Do the routine things routinely.
Mm-hmm.
And he came out and he did the routines routinely, and he also did them exceptionally at times.
Yeah.
So a good day one, but we always say this, what's your follow-up? What's your next act, right? Or when I'm sitting at the table, what's the next phase of this course or next course in the meal acclimation? And, great appetizer.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what the soup section looks like, and then let's get to the main
We know you love your
entrees.
soup,
I
no
do
matter
love
the
soup.
weather.
No matter the weather. I mean, my pod mates were upset yesterday. Like, why are you eating a hot soup after a hot practice? I said, because I love soup. I don't know what to tell you. I enjoy soup. So, yeah.
Kind of with your pod mates, but I respect that you love it in every weather, every season.
Consistency.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing that I can offer.
Routine plays routinely. That's you and
exactly.
soup.
Yeah, me, routine soups routinely.
Speaking of Coach Tomlin, I love watching him during backs on backers and when the pads go in the competition periods because, as you said, he wants to see things, run it back. You hear that a lot. And also, hey, don't say you want another rep and then not come back. He said that a few times, I think, and he definitely knows how to get the best out of everybody and how to bring even more competition as if these, A-plus athletes aren't competitive enough.
Yeah, it's fun to watch because, and like you said, to that point, he was like, hey, if you're going to ask for it, you got to win, too.
Right.
Like, don't come out here and do the same exact thing over and over again. I'm not going to give you those extra reps. And I thought it was good that guys showed up when they did ask for the extra rep. It was way more competitive. You saw the focus.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes guys can get a little bit lazy or lulled in those moments, and it's great to see that competition coming out. And it's also in a controlled environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to get hurt in those moments, and guys are ready for the action. So we'll see how it goes day 2 here, out here, how teams and guys that didn't respond well in previous segments of practice, how they grow from one practice to the next. Because that's the biggest thing you want to see. Where's the growth? Like, as an offense, you know, yeah, there might have been a jailbreak on a play, but do you make the same jailbreak when we run that play again? I need to see what is, or do you make the right call? And then defensively, can you get lined up in the right position? Because there was times, I will say this for both sides, that they were out of position, and not everybody got the call cleanly. So that's something you're going to want to continually work on. It might have looked good from the stands perspective
right.
and watching it, but then when you understand the schematics of the play, you're like, that guy's not supposed to be there, or that guy is not in the right hole, and that's why good things or bad things happen depending on what side of the ball you are on any given play. So you want to continue to grow. The mental mistakes have to be minimized from one day to the next. You got to get cleaner, and especially when we know what tomorrow is.
Right.
This is your last kind of dress rehearsal before you get to the Friday night lights, and you get to the scrimmage aspect of what's to come.
And I think, too, with the defense, the communication is something they have all preached that needed to get better from the end of last season to this year and wanting to clean it up here. So when they get back to Pittsburgh, it is a non-issue. As you said, though, first day in pads, so they'll continue with that. Yesterday, though, Broderick Jones was not able to be a full participant, not that we have to list those labels, but some good news today. Isaac Seumalo, who was on the non-football injury list to start training camp, he is off of that list. And he is not somebody, he has been here, but we have not had a chance to see him with everybody. And we talk so much about how important this offensive line is going to be, not having any injuries and being able to see them grow as a unit. And that is the guy that I think, stirs the pot in terms of what the offensive line does. He doesn't talk a lot, but people follow him by his actions. So it'll be great to see number 73 down there on the practice field and starting to get him acclimated back into practice.
Yeah, he's a guy that's been there the entire time, been on the sidelines. He's over there right when the guys come off the field, communicating with the offensive lineman. Hey, what did you see here? What I think you should have done this. Like being the big brother mentor that he is, given his experience. I mean, he's vastly experienced compared to the field, so to speak. So to get him back in the huddle, communicating, I'm sure that will be a big plus for Zach Frazier and for Mason McCormick being there in the interior, how to communicate certain calls that he's just seen and he's going to know. And so having that kind of human reference book in the huddle with you is going to be a big addition for that offensive line.
That's a perfect way to sum it up. And everybody leans on 73 because, as you said, he's won a Super Bowl. He's been in the league so long, and he brings that consistency in his play, just the demeanor that you want from an offensive lineman. He's never too high, never too low, but he does help all of the young guys. And there is, a lot of things that need to be done to fortify this O-line. And Broderick Jones, as we said, did not practice fully yesterday. So how do you make how this will work, Max, in terms of Isaac isn't going to be thrown in full today, and Broderick is working his way back of how they can bring consistency among the group, and you still have two young guys in Zach Frazier and Mason McCormick trying to do and get better from what they did during their rookie season last year.
Yeah, it's a process. I mean, that's the biggest way, but having guys present is always a good thing. Having those veterans there and those potential starters there and hearing everything, hearing the calls, going through it mentally. I sat behind a couple of the offensive drills with Broderick and just watching the focus, him communicating with his teammate, Calvin Anderson, who was in for him at the left tackle. Hey, Cal, you need to do this. Hey, and kind of being very vocal in those things. I think those all go a long way. It also helps give him the mental reps that he wants to see and also gives him practice on saying things, correcting things mentally. And then, like you said, Isaac Seumalo being there when guys come off the field and talking with them about what they did in those moments, and guys being able to ask him questions. Those all go into it, and it's a holistic approach. It's not just I'm in there physically doing everything, but I'm communicating. I'm also giving young guys, especially, the why I did what I did. because when you don't know the why, you're just out there just throwing darts in the dark. You're just throwing whatever you can together. But when you have a veteran there that knows all of this, it's easier to communicate and help you as a young guy kind of speed up your maturation process.
What did you have a chance to see from Spencer Anderson as he was getting some of those 1 reps when Isaac was out?
Talent. I saw a lot of talent. I mean, Spencer easily, when you say one of the most integral pieces of this offense, he is the one guy who can play all 5 positions. And that is a humongous advantage when you go into game day, knowing that if anybody goes down, he can step in at any position and perform. And I think him staying at the left guard position gave him some more quality reps at the interior position, because he's still a very good tackle. And like you said, and a very serviceable center if anybody should go down. So being able to play all 5 positions is just phenomenal. And then, like you said, getting in a starting position and looking like you fit in with the rest of the group. That's the biggest thing you can say. He fits in just fine, and I think that's what I'm looking for, guys who can fit in and guys who can do multiple things within the offensive structure, because it is a lot of youth. It's a lot of depth, but it's a lot of youth in that depth. And so continuing to grow and continuing to have those opportunities. Spencer Anderson's just gotten better every single year that he's been here.
Now, because this is an earlier practice than what it was supposed to be because of the weather, first day in pads, I'm sure some bodies hurt a little bit. What is the adjustment like for them, do you feel, going from that late day practice yesterday in the hot heat till today? I will say it's about 30 degrees cooler, it feels like.
It feels amazing right now. I know you can't really tell from our backdrop, but this is a nice cloudy, overcast, a little bit of wind in the air. It's a completely different condition. So you should see some freshness flying around. It's only day 2. You know, day 1, yeah, you're going to get some aches and pains because always the natural progress. There's going to be some marks on your chest as an offensive lineman from defensive linemen trying to grab your shoulder pads and vice versa, that you're going to feel and be like, ooh, that feels a little sensitive today. But for the most part, body should be fresh, and guys know how to recover. So, I mean, the cold tubs were going yesterday, and the whirlpool, so you could do some contrasting things to get your body back into it. And of course, saw a lot of guys stretching last night up in Rooney Hall.
Oh, yeah.
Just making sure they were fresh and ready to go, because they got the news last night that, yeah, this could potentially be a morning practice, so be ready for the short turnaround.
We're taking a live look at the fans who came here for that morning practice, as you said.
They adjusted accordingly.
Yeah. Almost the perfect weather if you're a fan when you don't have a chance to go under anywhere and catch some shade. But I will say I was very impressed with the number of cars that were still waiting in line to get here when I came onto campus this morning. And they were like, hey, we're flexible too. We're light on our feet.
Yeah, they're practicing. We'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're in. You love to see it. Who else stood out to you yesterday that we haven't already spoken about?
Ooh, let's see. Let's go through the mental checklist real fast. I think in wide receiver drills, I thought Calvin Austin had a really good day yesterday.
Okay.
Saw him in the wide receiver DB drills. He had a really good catch over Darius Slay for a touchdown. That was really nice. And you just see Cal just doing his job, right? Just weaving through and playing through it. I thought Chuck Clark had a solid day yesterday as well for the first day in pads, flying around from the safety position. Beanie Bishop had a really good day.
We haven't talked about him a lot.
We haven't talked a lot about Beanie because we got all these other big names in the secondary. But Beanie had a really good day, had a really good interception on Mason Rudolph. He was in coverage. I think it was Keyshawn Williams he was in coverage with, and just read the route perfectly, was in perfect trail position, turned around, high pointed the football, interception before he went out of bounds. So, you know, those are some other guys that really stood out to me. I thought Connor Hayward had a heck of a day in backs on backers when it seemed to be a little bit of a struggle for everybody, a little bit getting into the mode. Connor came in, he was ready, back-to-back reps, whipped the blocks, and did a really good job and made some great catches also in practice. So those are a couple of the names I saw that really stood out when I was going through and watching practice live, and then you go back and you watch the tape, and you see things, you're like, that 8-3, meatball.
Yeah,
Meatball was not going to be denied yesterday.
Meatball lost some weight, though, too.
Yeah, I mean, he's like a turkey meatball right now.
Turkey meatball.
It's better for you, right?
Well, Aaron Rodgers, one of the guys who spoke yesterday prior to practice, saying it was going to be his first time doing some live drills like that in almost a decade. So let's take a listen to what else Aaron had to say yesterday.
How does a guy be doing this as long as you've been doing it and still have fun at camp?
I mean, once it stops being fun, you should probably hang it up. So I love that we're out here in Latrobe. I love the opportunity for true camaraderie at nighttime after meetings are done. Guys hang out. You know, guys come into my room, Last night I was in Highsmith's room. So it's pretty cool to see everybody hanging out the way they are, and it's a lot of fun.
Aaron, you've played in a lot of really great offenses over the years. What do you like about this offense under Arthur Smith specifically?
I like the flexibility. You know, Arthur's not rigid in what he's doing. He wants to tailor the scheme to the personnel that you got. And when you bring in a Kenny Gainwell, bring in a Jonnu Smith, bring in DK Metcalf, and myself with some of the stuff I've done over the years, you know, we're trying to find out what guys do best and implement that in the offense. So I love that about Arthur. So we're going to keep doing that.
First day of actual pads today. What are you looking forward to for that?
Listen, I mean, I love throwing run solutions, you know, when the box is loaded and you got one-on-ones outside. But today I'm going to kind of let it go. I haven't been a part of a true tackling period in a long time. So there might be some times where in a game I might want to spit it out to DK or Calvin, but today I might just hand it off to Jaylen and see what happens.
When was the last time you were in a tackling session?
I was trying to rack my brain sitting next to AJ over there, but it's been a long time. It's got to be, you know, over a decade.
You think people were overlooking Jaylen Warren with the rookie in the backfield, Caleb Johnson?
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know what the narratives are out there, but Jaylen's super smart. Just from playing against him, I know he was a great change-up back. He was great in protection, great on third downs. But I think he can be a three-down back, and that's the biggest compliment you can give a running back.
You like the way he protects you? You like the way he protects you too?
Well, we haven't had pads on yet, but I like what I've seen on some old clips, yeah.
How has the defense helped you guys improve? It seems like they're giving you guys a lot of looks, and you're doing that back. How have you seen you guys' chemistry improve against them?
Yeah, I mean, they played pretty soft the first 4 days, so you know, it was a lot of checkdowns and different things, but they got a lot of players on that side of the ball. You know, obviously we brought in Jaylen, got multiple guys that can rush, got a good interior rush, got great linebackers who are multiple, can cover and pressure and fill holes. So, you know, it's going to be a good test for us. I think for any offense that's kind of trying to find their footing, as we are, it's not a bad thing to get beat up a little bit. So if we go out there today and they kind of get after us a little bit, that'll be the best thing for us. So you're not hoping for that because you want to have great practices, but, you know, sometimes you can learn more from the failures in training camp than getting after them every single day.
Aaron, how is the acclimation going with Zach on the offensive line? How do you feel that's meshing?
Well, it starts with Zach. I mean, Zach is a highly intelligent player, and it helps because as much as I have a good feel for the offense, I'm not what I would call an expert of the offense yet. You become an expert, well, I become an expert when you break the huddle and you can see the picture in your mind. And every now and then the picture's a little fuzzy still, so I'm still working some things out, but Zach is so freaking smart. He's making some calls for me. I told him the other day, I said, don't get used to that. I said, at some point I'm gonna be making the calls for you. But he's got a real good disposition for a center. He's obviously a talented player, and I think his leadership is what I'd like to see most continue to grow, because the leadership often grows at the same rate as the performance, and everybody knows what kind of player he is, so he's going to have more opportunities to lead.
Why was he your first pick for a fight today during pads?
Because if you watch the first 4 days, there was 2 matchups that they brought out a little bit of angst, shall we say. And when he gets those big West Virginia paws on somebody, that could definitely start something.
You mentioned
two more
guys,
two more.
Expert in the offense. How long does that process take for you to start seeing the picture come in a little bit more clearly at the snap?
No, I mean, I want to have it down by the end of this week, but we'll see.
You getting to know Jaylen Ramsey at all? How's he as a teammate?
He's a tempo violator in the walkthroughs. I like Jaylen. I have a ton of respect for him, what he's accomplished in his career. He's a very versatile guy. I was telling him we were walking to the calf one of these days, and I was reminding him how Charles Woodson, late in his career, moved to safety. And there's, you know, truly only a few elite guys who've done everything that he's done. If you think about it, you can play outside corner and dominate, you can play nickel and dominate, and then go to safety and be a dominant player. And I think he can do all 3 of those things.
Aaron Rodgers before practice yesterday. There we see him getting ready here at St. Vincent College for a morning practice. As we said, about 30 degrees cooler. Not a ton of sun. Feels great here. And he was talking about mastering and being an expert at that offense. Wants to have it kind of down pat where he feels comfortable with it. What have you seen in terms of him trying to grasp and also work with Arthur Smith and all these new people to him and also to Arthur Smith to make this offense what they want it to be?
Oh, no, you've seen great respect and kind of a great communication between Arthur Smith and Aaron. You know, when he gets to the sidelines, they're talking about what he saw, why he did that, because there's a lot of new information, a lot of new communication he has to make, and the terminology is different from what he's used to. So trying to marry what he knows versus what everybody else knows has been a process. And you can see it, you know, there's sometimes it's like frustrating, like, man, I should have had that. Like for him, like, man, he didn't do it. But he's trying a lot of different things to see what he can and can't get away with, especially in the passing, looking off defenders and getting the ball to different guys. And it might not end up in a reception every time, but you can see the thought process of how can I do this to create this space for a receiver. You know, when I'm at the huddle, I'm making an audible. What am I seeing and how much time do we need to communicate what the adjustment is? But it's been really fun to watch just how his mind works and how he communicates those things. And even when there is a miscommunication, wide receivers, and they're coming off, like DK came over and talked to him about it, or, you know, Jonnu about, hey, this, you know, should have had this and blah, blah, blah. You've seen good communication. You don't see bad body language or any of those things that you would normally typically see when guys get frustrated. He's not at that point where he understands, hey, it's a new thing every time, so we've got to work on this. We don't have hours and hours and pass attempt after pass attempt together. We're trying to manufacture those things in a live team environment and trying to speed up our connection together. So it's been really fun to watch how that is, and it's been enlightening, you know, because I get to sit back there. I sit next to Charlie Batch during drills, and just I get to talk with Charlie. Charlie, what do you think you saw there? No, this is this. Like he needed to do that, and then we sit and we watch the film together. You know, he's talking about, well, this play was set up bad from the beginning. You know, this isn't necessarily Aaron's fault. He made the best out of it, or vice versa. He should have made that throw. So it's been really, and that's what the thing is. I call it the forge. Like, you've got to test elements and put different elements together to see if they mix well, if they create a bond. And that's what this is. And Aaron is going through that and trying to create a bond with everybody that he comes into contact with.
And I like that he really spelled that out, especially that first day. Everyone made a big deal about the Patrick Queen interception. He was trying to get it to DK, and he said, look, I historically take care of the football when it counts. I'm going to throw some interceptions, but I'm going to throw a lot more. Clearly, he is known for throughout his career. And I think as you said, almost testing different things and what works with this offense, it is a growing process. I don't think it would be a good thing if he went out there and never threw an interception, because then that means something's not probably working well in the defense. It's still Steelers versus Steelers at this point, and it's crazy. We're almost, getting to the point where the first preseason game feels like it's on the horizon next weekend. So it'll be interesting to see, how that goes in terms of divvying up snaps and who's playing, who's not, and what they need to do, because the goal ultimately is September and the New York Jets. So I kind of like, his, as Coach said, Aaron is a football junkie. He's a workaholic. So I'm sure at some point it's going to be Coach protecting Aaron from Aaron. Yeah,
you have to do those things. That's the conversation. That's the compromise with it. Protect players from themselves at times, from what they could initially get entrapped into, right? You can get into a certain logic and process in your mind where you're just spinning in the same hamster wheel over and over again. The goal is to change the maze, right? To change the cheese in the maze for the rat to go find it. And so I think that's what you're dealing with and trying to manage. Put guys in positions where they have to think. You want to challenge them, but you also don't want to suppress them as well to a degree. So it's keeping enough variety in there, and you heard him talk about that. Like, what he loves about this offense, right, is the flexibility that it has. I mean, we saw yesterday, 13 personnel going out there and then them spreading out into 11 personnel. That doesn't happen everywhere. Not every team has that flexibility to do that, and you can try these different combinations and see how it works. And that's what I love about it. I love the variety because I want to know all the parameters that you can give me, and they're also seeing how wide a net they can cast within this offense for Aaron to be able to run. A lot of, you see a lot of double plays. You see a lot of opportunities for guys to make calls and make decisions on the fly. And for the offensive line especially, that's a lot more communication that you're passing down the daisy chain, right? That you're trying to, if a left tackle sees something, he needs to make sure that the right tackle sees it because it changes how he's going to block a guy. When a play audibles out and you're going to it, do you understand what your built-in checks are and what the new checks are? So it's a lot of processing and a lot of verbal and kind of nonverbal communication that has to go on before each play and how well they're handling that load.
There you see Aaron Rodgers talking to some of the defensive guys. Beanie Bishop there to his right said, one day we just had lunch together to talk about different things. And Aaron said in that clip that we just listened to how sometimes, he's with DK or the offensive guys, but he spent a night playing some games in Alex Highsmith's room as well. And I think, you cannot say anything other than him immersing himself into this team, into this culture, taking over as a leader and somebody that is available to everybody, all 89 guys. It is not just, the people that he is working with on the field.
Yeah, and that's what it has to be. That's what leadership looks like. And I think that's a good thing when it just comes naturally. I mean, he's there with Logan Lee and Daniel Aquale, right, on top of the other guys that were there in that group. That's his warm-up group.
It's great.
Why not? I mean, he's not just there with Skylar Thompson and Will Howard and Mason Rudolph warming up. He's warming up along with the defense, trying to mix himself and integrate himself around the team because at certain points we're going to depend on everybody to make a play, to do something. And you can't be afraid. I think that's the other thing. You can't be afraid to go talk to someone. You can't be afraid to go communicate with somebody, especially if it's good, bad, or indifferent, right? We need to have open dialogue, clear communication, and all of us have to be working towards the same goal, which is winning games. When it comes time for week 1, you're in MetLife playing the Jets, it's going to get hot. It's going to get heated, especially when we know the existing history there.
Oh, yeah.
We did Red Rover for quarterbacks. And, there's going to be a testing moment where he's going to need that defense to go make a play for him and get the ball back because maybe things didn't go well his last offensive series. And vice versa. Defense is going to need him to make a play because they need a break. And they want to rest a little bit. So there's a good balance of need, want, and respect for each other that you have to have within the concept of the team.
Jonnu Smith is somebody that I was telling you and Mike yesterday prior to practice. First offensive guy out. He was wearing the long sleeves, worked the jugs machine before practice, after practice. A new addition to this team that came in terms with the Jaylen Ramsey trade. What have you seen from him so far?
He's an exceptional receiver. I will say that. He doesn't run like a tight end. He runs like a wide receiver. But willing blocker in the backs on backers drill, and a guy who's very vocal as well with the guys, trying to understand and trying to pick up this offense. So trying to ingratiate himself and inundate himself with this system, I think has been a really nice addition to that group. I'm not going to say pleasant surprise because we kind of expect it. You're a professional, so you want to go and make sure that you're doing all the things necessary. I feel like he's doing all the things, even when he wasn't practicing early on.
Sure.
Being right there, talking to the young tight ends, talking to J.J. Galbraith and company, and just understanding, hey, this is what we're going to do. Here's what the concept is. You have any questions about a play? Like seeing all of that up close, and you see the veteranness of him, and we haven't had that veteran presence in the room because, let's face it, Pat Freiermuth was the most experienced guy in that room, and he was just in his second year. When he first came here. So seeing some growth and having some different perspectives always helps the entire group grow as a unit.
Well, I think, too, he's worked with Arthur Smith at multiple stops, and that's not primarily why he was brought here, but that doesn't hurt either. Scotty Miller, somebody, there was a lot of people even last year that can help, but I think their history is a positive, not a negative. And as you said, Freiermuth kind of took that leadership role on a lot earlier than they probably wanted him to. Even, going back to his rookie season, it was just very different, then as it is now. But I think, too, just the additions of DK Metcalf, it just seems like this team is starting to really gel. I was talking to some of the Pat McAfee guys yesterday, and, they were like, does it feel different? And it does, but I don't know if I feel that every year, but there is just something I can't put my finger on necessarily about why it feels different this year, and maybe it's because the offseason was unlike any offseason we have seen in Pittsburgh Steelers history, but hopefully this is the start of something special that's brewing and can hopefully, take them to where they want to go this year.
No, and I think the biggest thing you talk about in that offseason, like the aggressiveness of Omar Khan to go out and get free agents, and then how they handled the draft. They didn't jump really for anything, even though there might have been some glaring needs. A lot of their needs fell to them, so they didn't have to be on edge and kind of do something uncharacteristic of themselves. And right now, I could say that for next year, it yielded a lot of fruit. They got 12 draft picks as it stands right now.
Crazy.
Because of it, even with the trades that they've made for picks and everything. So I think when you're talking about looking at the grand scheme, this has been a very, very wholesale type of change. But we've seen a lot of material changes over the years. We've seen a lot of new guys here. I mean, in fact, we have 43 new guys out there on the practice field that weren't here a year ago. So the turnover has been high, but the quality of those turnover players that are now coming into their first training camp here at the Steelers has been very, very noticeable. And when you're talking about frontline starter capable, noticeable, that's what we haven't seen in years past. Usually it's a guy that fits in, and it's a rotational thing. We're light at linebacker. Remember, we brought in Quan Alexander a couple of years ago because of injuries, and and then of course we realized that, oh man, this is like a precursor to what actually happened in season when we lost all those linebackers and you were bringing guys in. So this year you have so much depth to work with that you can truly build 2 strong units per group and have those guys roll out at any moment. That's what I think the biggest change has been when you look at it. It's just, okay, seconds are in, 2s are in. You're like, oh, was that the first? No, that is the 2s. Okay, because they're that good.
Right.
Normally in years past you're like, ooh, this is the second unit. So I think that's what's kind of been the biggest difference is the quality of depth of the guys that you've brought in.
I think, too, you mentioned the patience that Omar Khan and company have had. During the draft, you don't have a second-round draft pick for a good reason. You got DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
But in terms of the running backs, they were patient. Caleb Johnson was there. Maybe it was tempting to try to trade in or trade up, not having that pick to get somebody like him. But I think, too, even the whole Aaron Rodgers situation, Omar has said, we looked at patience as a strength, not as a negative. And I'm not a patient person, so, that makes me antsy. But once we're sitting here now and you're seeing the team that they're building and putting together, it starts to make a lot more sense.
No, it does. Patience is in the process, right? When you watch a cook go to work, you don't like the initial process, right?
Sure.
Ingredients are everywhere, and you don't know what this is in this bowl that you're doing. Is it a marinade? Are you making a soup? I don't know. But
hopefully
then,
a soup.
Yeah, you hope it's a soup for my sake. And then you look at it, and then that's why you don't get to sit in the kitchen, right? You have to sit. You sit out in the main dining room, and you wait for the meal to come. And the meal is this beautiful meal. But if you watch the process, you would have had no clue. And I think for us, we always want to be in the kitchen. And it's like sometimes you just got to sit at the table and wait, right? Trust your order that you made that's going to come out like you thought it was. And that's what we're seeing here, that patience to wait for it to come out. It's rounding out. Obviously, we're not at the finish phase yet. We'll see how that looks in about another 4 months. But for right now, all the ingredients look like you expect them to look right now. So it's like seeing these players interact. Now they just need to come together and become one.
Jaylen Ramsey was somebody that Aaron Rodgers was also speaking about. Clearly one of the new ingredients to this team of the Pittsburgh Steelers of 2025. Aaron Rodgers called him a tempo violator in walkthrough, and you got a good laugh out of that.
I did.
What does that mean necessarily, and what have you seen from number 5?
No, I mean, I love the kind of tongue-in-cheek type of like this is the sarcasm we talked about. The players were talking about. Man, he's got the sarcasm. It's good sarcasm, meaning that it's a walkthrough and he might be jogging.
Yeah.
He might be a little bit past the walk speed that you're supposed to do.
A power
walkthrough.
walker.
Yeah, he's more of a power walker. He. On the treadmill where I'm doing like 3.0, he's probably doing 5.2, and he's
still walking.
The elbows are going a little bit faster when he goes through it, but I think that's Jaylen Ramsey. I mean, that's what makes him a top 100 NFL player is that he has to go to the beat of his own drum, And he also has to see things the way he can interpret them, because it's not just a one-size-fits-all. But he's always communicating. He's always talking to TA. He's always figuring out what he can and can't do. And also, he's playing a variety of his positions. So you got to make sure you have it clear in your mind when you've got a lot of, like, motion.
Right.
And you're in an interior position. I can't bump with this guy to the outside. As much as I know I can play corner and I can probably lock this guy down, I am a safety in these moments. I am a nickel in these moments. Or I am that corner in those other moments. So it's a lot of information that he's processing and taking, but you see him doing it with tenacity, ferocity. I mean, he was blitzing, you know, and I mean, that's something where it's like, okay, you don't think of a corner as a blitzer, but, you know, Jaylen Ramsey, this guy's pretty good. He was the number one corner and number one safety when he came out in his draft year. So all those skills are very innate for him. And how do you fit within the structure, and how do you also understand how to work within it and not kind of dominate it is the other thing I think that we've gotten to see, because I'm sure there's an itch. I've been there, done that. I know what this looks like. I could do this. I'm going to jump this route. But it's like, nope, got to play the concept. Got to play the concept and fit in with his team and learn and help all of us grow. And I think he's been really good at that.
I love how you were talking about, you know, Coach Tomlin mentioned he was the number one cornerback, the number one safety for good reason when he was coming out in the draft. And the Steelers did not have a draft pick that would have been anywhere near where he was going to go. But they still, the night before his pro day, took him out to dinner. Jaylen said, well, you know, NIL didn't exist. I'll take a free meal anytime. But it was also a good experience. And this is something that we consistently see with Coach Tomlin, of building those relationships with guys that maybe you're not going to get right now. But you know down the road, if you want to do business with them, that is who you want to do it with. And that matters. And that makes a difference, especially for, you know, Jaylen Ramsey, when he's having to say, yeah, I'm cool with this trade. Let's do it. Not that you always have say. But I'm sure there was a reason why he was like, absolutely, send me to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I think that's what matters. That's what the good evaluators do. You know, hey, I can't get this guy every time. I don't have a million draft picks at my disposal. I'm not drafting in the top 10 where I think a guy will go. We're drafting in the back half of the first round. So if it's a first round talent, we're probably not going to see the top tier of it. We're going to find those steals in the first round. But like you said, maybe it doesn't work out with that player at that time. So maybe I could circle the block and come back when it comes second contract time, and that guy's a true free agent. Maybe he'll think twice because of an interaction we had during Combine, during bowl game, you know, all-star games, I should say. I call them bowl games, Senior Bowl, but it's really an all-star game. Then also with the team visits. When you have all of your team visits, why not utilize them to understand what this talent thinks? And then, of course, like you said, life and football life. If you're as good as we thought you were, you will still be around in 5 years. You'll still be around in 7 years, and we could come get you maybe even your 9th year. You're still playing at a high level. You think Jaylen Ramsey, this is a guy, played a lot of football, gone to a lot of other places, but still ended up here, and is based off of his interactions that he had as a pre-draft pick rookie that they remember, and they also have that catalog. And it also is an advantage when you had a coach who's been here, right? He can build that kind of catalog and library of players when you've done it for 19 years, right? You know, you can sit there, you can look at all these guys and say, okay, I remember this guy back then 12 years ago and what type of guy he was. And like in the case of Aaron Rodgers, we've had a lot of interactions that lost a Super Bowl to them. We've known who they are. There's a mutual respect between coach and player that have been here just about almost the equal amount of time in this league and their positions. So it makes it a lot easier to say yes in the future because, like, no, he's been the same guy. He's still there. And just like you're looking, hey, that player's still playing.
Right.
So it's a good repartee.
I was laughing yesterday when Coach Tomlin jumped on the McAfee show. Pat said, you know, I always wanted to play for you, and you always told me when I was old and cheap you'd come get me, but it didn't work out. He said, did you tell Aaron that? Is that how that worked out? He said, Coach laughed and said, no, I wish I told him that. Maybe I would have got him sooner. But, you know, I think it's just that respect, as Pat was saying, that people want to come here to play for Coach Tomlin, and Aaron has talked about it. It feels like every time he speaks, he is asked about Coach Tomlin, and he has his glowing review of their relationship that they built over the years, of course, of being competitors, but even now and during part of the waiting process this offseason of talking to each other and staying in touch, but not necessarily talking football.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's the greatest attribute you can have is that there is variety in conversation. You know, because that that's what really creates the relationship, right? It's not about what we do necessarily on the field, but how do you think off the field? How do you think about things in life? What's your life perspective view? And do we have commonalities off the field that make it even a deeper bond? Like, you're looking for those things. I mean, like, I think about it, I look at Charlie Batch. Charlie Batch's love for philanthropy and giving back to the youth. That was an immediate thing because I wanted to start my foundation. I wanted to give back to youth back in my hometown. I do that in Orlando. It's going on 20 years now. So we have that relationship. That's why Charlie and I will always be buddies. Willie Colon and I, right? We love travel, and we like food. So, we have those type of conversation and builds deeper bonds. We both are dads trying to figure it out. I'm the godfather of his son. And, so we get together and we have family time together. And I think that's all important with how you grow as teammates. And it lasts a bond that extends beyond football. I mean, we're here in a football environment that brings us back together. But it's not what keeps us going. There's a lot of different things. So when you can have those outside external relationships, they can also help and benefit the quote-unquote internal football relationship as well.
And I think for the Steelers, the continuity that they have built of coming here to St. Vincent College for so many years, minus the COVID years, of course, when they physically were not allowed to. But I think it's the stoop talks that the guys always talk about outside of Rooney Hall, the casual lunches you're having with someone that you might not really know. Just the different things that there's just so much to it that is the intangibles that it brings. And it is always surprising. The NFL always sends out an email of, here's where everybody's training camps are, and there's only, 7 or whatever that still go away. I understand there's probably a cost related to it that might be part of the reason, but when you're trying to build a team, it just seems to make too much sense.
Yeah, well, that's it. And, Mike Tomlin, is going on record saying, "Hey, listen, I'm not going to get fired because I spend too much money. I'm going to get fired if I don't win enough games." So if there is a cost, and I'm sure, and in this situation, like for the deep relationship that the ownership has with this university, with this college, and this hallowed grounds for football, I'm sure there's a bigger compromise. So he's not worried about it. It's the traditions that hold up. When you realize that every Super Bowl champion that played for the Pittsburgh Steelers was forged back right out in those fields down there, literally.
Means something.
Over the year. It means something. There's a nostalgia. It almost gives you like Field of Dreams type vibes. Of course, we don't see like the ghosts of Steelers past coming through and building a stadium for them, but you get that kind of knowledge. I mean, it's Chuck Noll Field, right?
Right.
It's the general down there that had that type of vibe, and he commanded us and molded this team into what it is today. So you honor that by playing at that field. We think about Rooney Hall. Like, the players are actually staying in Rooney Hall. And it's not like, it's a distant relative. No, this was built because of Mr. Rooney.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of those instilled things. And also, fans know this is the pilgrimage site, right? This is a place that if you say you're a Steeler fan, you've got to make the trek to Latrobe. I get texts all the time from buddies and everything. Man, I want to come up to training camp. I'm like, come on. Because it's a once-in-a-lifetime type of opportunity for a lot of people, but you also know that this is the rite of passage. You get to watch it live and in person, and people come year after year after year. They bring their kids. I mean, heck, we're talking about what Ben Skoranek came here as a kid and sat on the hill watching Steelers practice. And guess what? He's now practicing, and there's another kid that's going to be watching Ben Skoranek practice and trying to continue that type of tradition. So it's really special when you have those type of moments that you can look back on. And, it's a very special place. I mean, look how excited Pat McAfee was yesterday. He was a little kid.
Yes, he was.
He was a little kid here. He was so emotional. He was so excited. He had that frenzied emotion. Even when he was on the field, he's running around, slapping high fives everybody. Like, he looked like a kid that got the VIP pass for the day. And it was really fun to see.
Well, it's funny you say that. The security guard that was, tailing him a little bit to make sure that he was okay, because I'm pretty sure he signed autographs for fans after their 2-hour show of no breaks for at least an hour, maybe more. Wanted to, everybody who stayed, he wanted to sign the autograph, but the security guard said, I don't have kids, but I feel like this is probably what it feels like to be a parent, just trying to figure out where your kid's going. And I was like, but this is like grown, Pat. Imagine him as a kid. Because as you said, he had that bebopping mentality of, holy holy cow, I'm here and I want to, go say hi to all these people, but I'm also just so blessed that he got a chance to meet Father Paul. He was like, his mind was blown that there were monks walking on campus.
Yeah.
Something he's like, I don't remember that from when I was little, but I also think I was sitting on the hill, so we probably didn't have the access that they did yesterday. And he said, just standing next to Mr. Rooney and having a chance to talk to him as we're watching practice. Those are, really cool things to see. And as you said, like the Ben Skoranek, coming here, going to Kennywood as a kid, all the Pittsburgh things that it's cool to see, especially whenever you look outside of what happens outside of this organization, this team, in terms of what teams are doing.
Well, and I think the biggest thing is, right, when dreams come true, and, you don't think that I can be there. You have to be here to see. You have to sit on the hill and say, you know what, I might want to do that one day, right? But if you don't get exposed to it, you don't have the opportunity to do those type of things. And I think that's what really makes this special, and this makes this a very special place, is it spans through generations.
Mm-hmm.
Parents can say, remember when I did this as a kid. And then those kids become adults and they say, remember when I did this as a kid. And it carries on, and that's what tradition is, right? It's a carrying on of things and rituals that people do, and they merge families. Like, this is a family destination spot for a lot of people.
Right.
And when you can have multi-generational families, there's so many times you see grandparents along with their kids and then their kids.
Mm-hmm.
There you see 3 generations coming to Steelers practice. Like, that doesn't happen in a lot of other organizations. Like you said, there's only 7 teams that still kind of do that. Like Green Bay is one that's steeped in that nostalgia, the bicycles and everything.
The bikes are so cool.
It's a cool thing that kids get to do that. And, that's where you don't get that. Kansas City goes to that one little college as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Cowboys go to Oxnard. I don't know how traditional that is for Dallas.
Yeah, you're getting on a plane.
Yeah, you're getting on a plane. You have to fly. It's a destination location.
Right.
But, the team being in the same environment, in the same region, where you can have a short drive to get to the place, it's pretty special. And not a lot of teams do that anymore. And I feel like if there was a team I would want to count on to keep that tradition the longest, it would be the Steelers.
No doubt about it. Another thing, speaking of tradition, here for Steelers training camp is the Friday Night Lights. It's the yellow school buses that everyone rode, in a past
Gotta ride
lifetime.
the cheese wagon.
Yeah.
Gotta ride the cheese wagon.
Takes you back to the high school days, but it is so cool. You get to Latrobe Memorial Stadium. It's small, but it's packed. Fans just
tickets are sold out. That's what's wild. You got a waiting list for tickets.
It's crazy to see, but it is one of those environments that unless you experience it, you cannot perfectly explain it. But taking place tomorrow, what's a favorite Friday Night Lights memory for you?
Oh man, live goal line period was one of my favorites because I'll never forget it. And my good buddy Ike Taylor, who's now a scout here for the team, I'll never forget. I was a rookie, and Ben was a rookie, and we're in with the number 2 unit. And I remember lining up as a jumbo tight end on the left, and I was supposed to run a shallow drag from left to right, going along the sideline. Well, I sprained my thumb the day before, so it was this thumb right here. I had jammed it, and I was running a shallow drag, and Ike has me in coverage.
Oh boy!
He grabs the right hand, and I stick the hand out like, Ben, throw it to me. Ben throws it. It literally hit the cast and doinked off. And Ben was like, well, there goes that experiment.
Yep.
Not
a good one.
I was like, come on. So I remember like that's a funny moment. I mean, but like signing autographs for the fans where we get that time to just go out and sign, and the entire stadium ring is just completely full. So you're trying to pick a spot that not everybody else is going to. You don't go to the main stands. Everybody's there, and they want every autograph. But I try and go to the outskirts, go to the opposite side, and I like to zigzag across the field. And so it's just a cool opportunity to really interact with fans and really get up close and personal. Here is close. That place is personal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can hear everything everybody is saying. You can hear a sneeze, and
you can even hear thoughts at certain moments if you concentrate enough.
It's also worth getting the 50-50 tickets.
Oh, you got to. I mean, because it's going to be a very healthy. If I could buy one, I would. But I know, obviously, as a staff personnel, can't really do that. Participate in gambling and everything else. But I would have bought the ticket because it's a very significant amount.
It blows my mind every year. So if you are going tomorrow to Latrobe Memorial Stadium, make sure you get those 50-50 tickets. We'll be there as well with live coverage. That is going to do it for us today. We have to get Max down to practice to watch some more things happening today. But stay tuned for tomorrow for our show coming your way from Latrobe Memorial Stadium. This is Training Camp Live presented by FedEx. For Max Starks and Missy Matthews, thanks for joining us. Have a great day, everybody.